Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today we will have a discussion on Canadian immigration. So we have Soham with us who has went through the entire journey from a student visa in Canada to work visa and then to a PR. So currently he got his PR in Canada recently. So he will share some light on this topic. So let's bring Soham to this channel. Hello Soham.
Hi Santa, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good. So, just a quick question. So, thank you for coming. I also
Yeah,
know
not a
that
problem.
you also before being a student, before being on a full-time student visa, you also did your internship for 2 months, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you have covered like from internship. Is there a separate visa for internship and student visa, or they were the same?
For my internship, I was given a work visa, so that was a different visa. It was
That
not a
was a
student
different.
one, yeah.
Okay. So today we will actually talk about your student visa experience.
Okay.
Like, let's say, like if you are in a student, you came here for a full-time master's student. So
Right.
can you work like at the same time while doing your master's? Like, how does it work in Canada?
Right. So usually, a full-time international full-time student can work outside of university for up to 20 hours per week. So that's usually have been the case so far. During COVID, for a few months, the government took off that restriction, meaning that they could work up to 40 hours per week or more. But that was just for the limited time. But usually, it's up to 20 hours per week outside the university, but if somebody is able to get a job in the university, then there's no limitation on the number of hours they can work actually. So yeah, those are the options.
So basically, if you get a job inside the campus, then you can work 40 hours. So that is fine, perfect.
Yeah, I can work even more. So it's so as long as
Oh,
it's within the university, you can work as many hours as you want. It's only outside the university your hours are limited to 20 hours per week usually, as long as there's no other new limitation by the government or restrictions that are taken away, right?
great, great. So just for viewers, for context, let me just add in one point. In
Mhm.
United States, you can act for most of the colleges in United States. If you come here to do a full-time masters, you
Mhm.
can start working only after you have finished your one full year as a full-time student. Only
Okay.
then you are eligible to do your like CPT visa and you can start your internship or something like that. So
Okay.
that is a very good point that you mentioned that you can start work from day one while you already start your masters.
Right.
So another question that I have in this regard, let's say you have first when you have completed your entire masters 2 years program, then
Mhm.
how much time do you get an international gets to find a job in the job market?
Yeah, so like basically once somebody completes a 2 year long program, they're eligible for a 3 year open work permit, meaning that they can take as long as they want to get a job, right? There's no restriction. So up to 3 years you get the work permit, you can work anywhere. So it's not like restrictive. I think as in US, you have a restriction that you have to work on the same field that you have completed your masters or bachelors on, but there's no such restrictions in Canada, so you can work on any field as long as you're able to get a job on that, right? And then but there's no limitation on, I think in US you have that within 3 months you have to get a job, and all those deadlines and time limits are there. But in Canada we don't have anything as such, so people can take their time to find a job. But that being said, it's always better to get the job as soon as you can, right? So that's always
Right,
there.
right. For sure. So yeah, that's a very good point that you mentioned that you can get like 3 years of time to basically find a job, whereas in US it's a time constraint is very high here in US
Mhm.
because you only have 3 months of time within which you have to find a job and that too in the same field.
Right.
So
Right.
having said that, one more thing is like in US economy is more than Canada. I think for sure US
Much
economy
bigger,
is a
yeah.
little bit larger than Canada
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah.
So yes, there are available jobs out there, but still with that time constraint, it becomes more challenging in that regard. So in Canada, I would say has Canadian government has more relaxed in that sense because
Right.
you have like 3 years of time period to find a job and that too in any field.
Right.
So great point that you
Right.
mentioned here.
uh,
So also, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you say something.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add. So this 3 year work permit is only if you have completed a course that's of the duration 2 years. For courses that are shorter than 2 years, the work permit people get is for 1 year. So that's just the addition to it. Yeah.
Okay, so for 2 year period, you get 3 years of work permit time,
Right,
and
right.
if you cover something less than 2 years, then 1 year you get. So 1 year is good enough for to find a job.
Yeah, 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 that's true.
Yeah, so this is the okay. So and also, can you please shed some light on the tuition fees in Canadian colleges? Let's say somebody comes here to do a master's in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science. So
Mhm.
what can be the what can he expect as a tuition fees?
Right. So the tuition actually varies from colleges to colleges, but the average I would say per year would be somewhere from 25 to $30,000 per year. The total cost fee, course fee can range from 35 to 40,000 to $60,000 if it's a 2 year long course. Uh, the course based programs are a little bit cheaper than the research based programs in terms of you see the absolute cost, but in terms of research based program, there are always more funding opportunities. So there's this trade off, but there's so that's the usual cost. I would say 30 to 50,000 USD to complete a course, basically. Sorry, not USD, Canadian dollars.
Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, so at least we got some idea about the student visa options and how much it takes to how much it costs to do a full masters in Canada. So one more thing, let's say somebody is working part time in Canada,
Hmm.
and can he let's say 20 hours, somebody is working 20 hours in Canada, not that 40 hours, so can he at least cover some of his, like say, utilities, room rent, those kind of expenses, regular monthly expenses, not the tuition, let's say at least this part can he cover up,
Yeah,
or how
usually.
well he can do it?
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, usually with like 20 work hours a week, it's very easy to cover for your living expense, considering that the living expense, students are, I think most students would limit their living expense to, let's say, like $10,000 a year, right? So that can easily be earned through the part-time. But the thing is, with the part-time jobs, it's mostly the minimum wage jobs that the student take up, right? So it's not a lot of money, but if someone can get a job in their own field with a higher rate per hour, that's really great. But there are not that many jobs that are available. There are co-op opportunities and all that, so those are different things. But people who are working part time and doing, let's say, a minimum wage job can still get their living expense out by working 20 hours a week. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing this point. And let's move to the next visa right now, student visa category. So one we covered the student visa, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
actually discussed very exhaustively all the options in student visa. So let's say we now let's talk about work visa in Canada. Like
Hmm.
we in the United States, what they have is like an H-1B visa
Hmm.
program. Like many people who doesn't have a master's program, who doesn't come to here as a master's program, what they do is they directly come here on a H-1B visa, like
Right.
companies like CTS, TCS, Wipro, Infosys. We see a lot of people coming from those companies directly from India.
Okay.
Like, how popular is work permit in Canada? How much have you seen in Canada? How popular is?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. But the thing is, I haven't seen a lot of companies, sponsoring directly, employees from outside Canada. That being said, there are times in which companies do sponsor, people from outside India, especially when they're not able to hire the the talent as per the current demand, right? So I think a couple of years back, or even right now, there's always a shortage in healthcare workers. There was a shortage in software developers, so they were offering our visas or offering jobs to people outside India, and they were sponsoring visa. But usually it's not very popular, so because the immigration system is such that students can get this done by themselves, right? So company don't like to invest a lot on immigration, so they would rather prefer someone who has their own work permit or open work permit or own permanent residence, so that they don't have to get into that problem of that, I'll not say problem, but that into the hassle basically of getting the immigration paperwork and all that, right?
Yeah, that is very true. Okay, so this is a good point. Is like, so basically, what you are saying, companies do not encourage too much of people directly coming on work visa
Hmm.
in Canada.
Right.
Okay, so one more. So let's talk about the other options to immigrate to Canada. One is student visa, one is this work visa, and one more ways that I have researched is like the PR. Like there are many people who directly apply for PR and so that they can come to Canada. So can you please shed some light on how to apply PR and how the process works, and the most important is how to maximize your chances so that you can increase your points in the PR system.
Yeah, so that's a, that's a very good option to apply for PR from outside Canada, if there's a possibility, right? Nowadays, because of, the lot of people applying, and the immigration system, during the COVID time, they were not taking as many people from outside Canada, so there's been a lot of backlog right now. So the, cutoff score has gone up very high. But previously, people could apply and get it. Even now, I think after a few months, people can still get through the cutoff. But how that works is, you like basically create a profile on your Express Entry. So we can, provide the link on the, the video description, and you can take, and you can go there, go to that link, create your own profile, and have everything ready in there, right? So it doesn't cost anything to get the profile done, and it's just the basic information, where you studied, highest level of qualification, your work experience, and at the same time you also have to give a English proficiency exam, which is basically IELTS, or there are a couple of other options that you can look at. And so you have to have the results of that as well to put in the profile, but there's no other cost involved in it. So people who are planning to move to Canada can always create their profile and be ready with that information. And yeah, and based on whatever your qualification is, and your work experience, and your age, of course, a score is generated, which is called the CRS, comprehensive ranking system, and the applicant is put into a pool of applicants, out of which there is draws regularly. The government conducts draws, and based on your like relative position in that pool of candidates, you get either selected, so they send you an invitation to apply, or you wait until you're getting selected, right? But it's always good to have that profile set up. And I've seen a lot of actually immigrants who have moved with the PR, and it always helps, right? You have the authorization to work anywhere. Your fees, actually, if you are a PR, if you want to study, your fees is a lot lower than international fees. So it's like, for engineering, I know it's like, if it's 30,000 for international students, it's probably 6 7,000 for local people, right? So much of a difference. So all these things helps. It's great to have a PR. It's a little bit difficult at this point, but there's no harm in applying, so you can always put up a profile and all that, right? Yeah.
Great point. So, Swam, I would also want to ask you, like, how to maximize your chances. Like, what do you think are the four most important points which will, if people actually work on it, they can actually get the maximum points?
Yeah, so I think the English speaking is a very important aspect of it. So I think there's a band above,
IELTS,
yeah, the
yeah,
IELTS, or
that's
like a couple of other exams. I think um, I don't remember the name on the top of my head, but there are a couple of other options. But for IELTS, I think like above a certain band, you get a much higher scores. I think it's 7 7 7 and 8. So basically, for your listening, writing, and speaking, I think you need to get minimum
speaking and
7.
reading.
Yeah, and I think reading, yeah, and for speaking you need 8. So there's a band above which, if you get a score above that, then you get a lot more points than if you get a score below it, right? So that's super important, the way you can change. That's the only thing basically in your hand, right? Other than that, your education, your experience is just what has happened in life, and you cannot change much about it, right? So IELTS is one of the important things that people can focus on. And on top of that, it's always better to apply like early. So the age is a factor, as I previously mentioned. So I think up to an age of 30 years, so from your 20s to 30, you get the maximum number of points. And then after every year of age, I think you keep losing 5 points per year. So that's kind of an incentive to apply sooner. So within 30, it's good to apply within 30, so you get the maximum number of points for age, a good IELTS score, your work experience. If you have more experience, you get more points, but I think it's up to 5 years, and after that it's the same point for everyone. and yeah, and the education. So that's the four things that they look at, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you said 4 points, which is IELTS, the age up till 30 years, the education, if it's master's or PhD, maybe they will get the more points.
Right.
And the fourth one is, which, what do you say, the fourth one?
So the fourth one, I think the education, age,
The
yeah,
experience, job
experience, yeah,
experience,
job
job
experience,
experience.
yeah.
So we got the 4 points here. Okay, so what I researched, the one more thing is like there is like you get, if you're above 30 or and you have a very good experience, job experience, international job experience. So there is something called some points the province gives you thousands points for which kind of directly gets you the entry
Right.
to that, gives you a PR. Can you please elaborate a bit on that? I mean, I just know the frame or
Yeah.
like
So
little.
yeah. So that's a good point to bring in. So usually what happens is, so sometimes there are shortage of talent in certain province, right? So for example, as I was saying, the people from medical profession, there was a shortage of software engineers before. So what province do is, whichever area or whichever skill set there's a shortage of labor, they try to attract immigrants from those skill set to their own province, right? So they nominate people from that express entry pool, who have the skill sets whatever the province is looking for. Let's say Ontario is looking for healthcare worker, they'll try to provide or nominate people from healthcare industry so that they can fulfill their demand. So once they do that, and once somebody's profile is nominated by the province, then they automatically get a PR. So they will give a exorbitant number of points, right? They'll provide like 1,000 points to the candidate. So automatically their score is going to be on the top, right? And on the next draw, they're going to get the invitation to apply for a PR. So basically, yeah, that's about it. So it's just which is something there's nothing you can do about it, right? So it's always, I think the best thing is, if you are planning to move to Canada, get your express entry profile ready, because you never know when such things will happen, right? So if you have that profile handy and you're ready and you're and you have all your documents to apply basically, but they still give you 2 months, so you don't have to have all your documents ready. But at least if you have the profile up, and if you get the like nomination, you can always apply on the next draw, right?
Great, great. Okay, so thank you for this point. So we covered, I think, all the ways to legally immigrate to Canada. The one is student visa, work visa, and the PR. So I think these are the three the main channels through which people can move to Canada. Uh, so apart from that, let's please define. Let's wrap up the program by this final question, which is like, what is one good, like you have been in Canada for 6 to 7 years right now. You
Right.
went
Yeah.
from your student visa, went being work visa, and then you finally right now a PR.
Right.
So what is the one of the good thing that you experience in Canada? You like about Canada? What is that one thing, and what is the one thing which you do not enjoy too much in Canada? Just
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
from
So
your experience.
yeah. So that's a nice question. So I think like couple of, in terms of professional life, I've seen here, like work life balance is an important thing, and the employers respect the work life balance. So you're encouraged to take leave, you're encouraged to work a limited number of hours per week, right? So all these things are kind of, people tend to respect it more than that in India. So India, it's always you know uh, overworking, and all these things are there, and it's not bad. I'm just saying that it's a little bit different, and I feel it's a little better in Canada in terms of the work life balance. Second thing is the weather. So summer is awesome in Canada. You have all those activities to do, and all the nice places here and there. So it's a great place to be in summer. So those are the two things I would say. I know you asked for one. I just added one more in there. So and yeah, did you ask anything else, or?
So I also asked, like, what is the one thing which you do not enjoy too much in Canada?
Okay.
Maybe the
So
winter.
yeah. So
When
yeah.
you like the summer, the winter can be a little bit harsh, right? In some areas, I think. Not in your
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
Toronto. I don't
Yeah.
know how is the weather.
So the winter can be harsh sometimes. So it's not that it's always covered with snow. So there are certain times in which it's always nice and fine, sunny and all that. Like even in winter, but there will be times it's snowing heavily, and you have to clean the windshield of your car and all those things that you have to do, right? If snow accumulates, you have to clean your driveway, and stuff like that, right? It's just part and parcel of the winter here. So that's I think one thing there. And I would also add that the social life is a little bit better in India than it is in Canada. So it's just a little bit of a trade-off, right? You have to do. So yeah, those are the two things I would say. Yeah.
Okay, great. So great. I think we covered everything. Thank you for sharing your perspective so exhaustively. We covered like how the ways to immigrate in Canada, and also you shared one point regarding what you like, what you don't like. I think yeah, that's. I think we covered everything. So that's it for today. So
Yeah.
thanks so again.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Hope
you for
we.
organizing this. See you. Bye bye.